Hey y'all, Pi here, and we are back in our life, beginnings and always, and just gonna come right out and say this is my first time getting back in the closet and recording in like almost 2 months. It's been a long time. I am both sleep deprived and hyper as heck right now, cause I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm high just from the lack of sleep and maybe a little bit of an overdose of fan art from My Hero Academia. Don't judge me. But also, if you have any Totodeku to pass my way, I'd totally be into that. Anyway, I realize I made a mistake in leaving a cliffhanger that I now don't have the full context for. I vaguely remember what was going on because I did edit the previous episode last week, so I sort of kind of know what's going on, but So, here's the thing. I do want to be loyal to Cove and take care of my good boy, but I do also very much appreciate Baxter's voice, and I want to hear more of it. Is it considered cheating if you just like hearing somebody speak? So I think Cove's gonna get really pissed. But you wanted to continue the hangout session at the park. You weren't ready to tag out yet. You came to a decision and turned to Cove. Let's go to the park. Alright, park time it is. Aww. He's like, it's fine if it's with you. Aww. He's so precious. He smiled a little. Terry cheered and Miranda nodded happily. You felt like you made a good decision.
Yeah.
To the car! Again! I like her energy. Yeah, whatever car that might be. You gestured at Cove and then to Baxter, saying who would volunteer. Cove sighed and ran a hand through his hair. He tapped on his car's hood nervously. Oh?
I guess.
We can go in Baxter's, I guess. It'll be less of a pain than bringing both. We're all going to the same place. Aw, he's growing! Either that or he just really doesn't want Baxter in his car. Are you okay with that, Baxter? Certainly. I mean what I said. When you need a lift, I can give it. Smooth as fuck, this boy. Neither you nor Terry brought up any objections, and so the gang climbed back into Baxter's nice ride. This time, Baxter offered to turn on some music. After all, it would be a little bit of a drive to the park. So personally, anytime there's a situation with a radio, I kind of just let other people choose for the most part, because I have such an, I guess, eclectic taste in music that even if they're listening to stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to, usually I can at least find something that I like in almost every genre. So I'm gonna say, play what you normally would, don't mind us. Yeah, I would like to see what kind of stuff a guy like you is into. Why do I feel like he's got a bunch of ballroom music and maybe some sex songs? He gives me that energy. I hope the playlist lives up to expectations. He plugged his phone into the car with an aux cord and turned on some alternative music. Oh. Interesting. Interesting. With the music taken care of, Baxter put the car in drive and pulled out of the parking lot. The lot was practically empty, but you noticed that he was careful anyways. Oh. I'm so freaking hyper, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring it back down. I'm trying to focus, but also just Fujeshi brain activate. During the trip, it changed to hard rock, punk, and even screamo. Oh! Despite his personable demeanor, he didn't seem to like upbeat tracks. Just screaming internally. Why is Baxter male me? Why am I exposing myself on the internet? It took a while to arrive. By the time you got there, the sky was golden with the orange streaks of sunset. Everyone got out of the car and started to stroll along one of the paths. You walked by the basketball court and some picnic tables, taking in the sights. Miranda seemed amazingly content, the location helping her relax in the company. She led the way, sometimes stopping here or there to point something out. Baxter turned to her and nodded along.
Not bad.
I've never been here, but I definitely see the appeal. Where the fuck are you looking, boy? Calming down. Man, this is Randy's stomping grounds. She's been coming here forever. Seriously, Miranda, have you ever had a birthday party that wasn't here? You've missed out, Baxter, because every year she has a blowout party at the park. Imagine balloons everywhere. Miranda looked down, suddenly shy again with the attention on her. She let out an awkward laugh. Yep, every year. Miranda's cute. The group followed Miranda along to one of the picnic tables. She took a seat and Terry slid in beside her. You spent the evening chatting amongst each other. Everyone got to know Baxter a little better, although you could tell Cove and him still hadn't fully clicked. Become friends, damn it! At one point, Miranda found an abandoned soccer ball and started tossing it around. Me too. Wait. To me. To me. To me is not the same as me too. Order of words is important. Miranda threw the ball to her. Terry caught it with a smile. Think fast. She chucked it at Baxter, who only had enough time to squeak. It bounced off his chest, and he stared at it dazed. Oh, poor baby. He's not built for this sports thing. He blinked as if he needed time to process what exactly had happened, but then grinned dangerously. Oh no. He rushed after the ball, and rather than throwing it back, he surprised Terry and everyone else by lobbing the ball high into the air. You bent your net back to watch it ascend in inevitable decline. Baxter hooked it with his foot and launched it up again. Oh. There were oohs and ahs from Terry and Miranda. Baxter gave them a very proper bow. Lord. When it finally fell to the ground for real, Cove was the one who picked it up. He was impressed and wanted in. Hey! With that, everyone was drawn into the game. It was unspoken that whoever did the fanciest trick won. Nice. Most of the game was not particularly practiced with throwing a ball, so not many of the tricks were actually good. However, there was a lot of laughter, and you got to see Miranda pull off a round-off where she threw the ball with her feet, so that was cool. You did pretty well yourself, and got a fair amount of applause from the crowd with your moves. The sunset eventually darkened into night, and the street lights turned on. Your group's chosen picnic table laid in a bubble of light. The occasional bug cast a shadow as they flew by. It's a little strange being here so late on a normal night. Usually that only happens if there was a party, or an important game, or a fireworks show. Fireworks! Her yell startled Baxter, who was throwing the ball nonchalantly from hand to hand. He missed catching it, and it sailed sadly back to the ground. He looked at Terry for her loud outburst. I just remembered there's gonna be a fireworks show tonight. It's in the city. At everyone's questioning looks, she huffed and tried to explain further. It's some celebration for the opening of something. I don't remember what. I don't think we could get into the actual event anyways.
Oh yeah.
But we should still be able to see the show if we get close. You can't keep explosions in the sky away from the public. I mean, yeah. Terry is not wrong. Cove raised an eyebrow and drummed his fingers on the table below him. You want to change locations again? Wasn't the last 2 times enough? Terry rolled her eyes and then shook her head. To her, it was obvious. Don't be a wet blanket, Cove. What about you, Joy? Randy? Baxter? Don't you want to see the fireworks? Fuck yeah, let's go. Fireworks! It's fireworks, we gotta go. I guess they are fireworks. Alright, whatever. What's one more scene change? Come on, Cove! Yes! I knew this was a good idea. In turn, 4 sets of eyes looked to Baxter as the driver. His answer made or broke the plan. He chuckled softly. For a penny and for a pound, I'll go. Oh. In for a penny, in for a pound. I'll go.
Honestly.
Genuinely, there's nothing better to occupy my time tonight. We'd better hurry or we might miss it. Lord! Cove rolled his eyes but laughed. I am not in the right headspace to deal with Baxter right now. I really am not. Like, I am too freaking hyper for him, and like, whoever did his voice, like, I keep commenting on his voice, but like, goddamn. I have officially finished my tea. That is a record of 12 minutes into recording. I've been chugging that shit. Everyone headed back to the car yet again. Terry brought out her phone to navigate the city, and Baxter stepped on the gas. You were on your way. Baxter drove past buildings aglow in warm yellow light that cut through the navy black night. One office building had bright LED lights that cycled through a whole rainbow of hues. It was difficult to get through all the traffic on the road, let alone find parking this late at night. Luckily, Miranda had eagle eyes when it came to scoping out a spot. She pointed to a sedan pulling out, and Baxter parked within seconds. Not wanting to miss the show, you all raced down to the waterfront walkway to find a place with a good view. What about here? Cove peered across the rails into the distance and shot her a thumbs up. It was relatively quiet, isolated, and you could see the skyscrapers. That was a good sign, based on where Terry thought the event was. Yes, this should work just fine. She stopped and tried to catch her breath, her hands on her knees. Miranda leaned against the wall between establishments as she recovered. Cove took a moment to breathe as well, stretching his spine back. He looked up at the sky in wonder and let out a relieved sigh. Think we've missed anything?
No way.
Not a chance. Nothing's happening, and we can't be so late that we missed everything. Maybe it'll start soon. Joy probably has not had the experiences that I've had, so they're probably still pretty amped about fireworks. As for me, I was born on the 4th of July. Yeah, now you guys know my birthday, do with that what you will. And I got fireworks every single year on my birthday. And, like, I got dragged out of the house every single year on my birthday to go look at fireworks. And eventually I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. I want to sleep. Because, like, especially since I've become an adult, most of the time I have to work the day after. And the day of. If you ever want to have holidays off, like, don't go into baking. Just don't. Don't do it. And you're never gonna have a holiday again. Anyway, you felt excited. The spontaneity of the whole thing, combined with the amazement of fireworks, was a recipe for you to be bursting with anticipation. It couldn't start soon enough. Terry led Miranda to sit down on the oval slabs along the path. Miranda took a seat and began tapping her knees together as she waited. Terry, meanwhile, crouched more than sat. Baxter smiled politely and looked from you to Cove. He seemed to be waiting for one of you to speak first, rather than wanting to directly start a conversation. Something seemed to strike Cove as he tried unsuccessfully to hide a smile. We're all still in swimsuits. Wearing beachwear in the middle of the city in the dark while waiting for a fireworks show was clearly the joke of the day for him. Cove snorted once and then looked back up at the sky. Cove is adorable. He is such a precious boy. A flash lit up the sky with brilliant green. Your eyes flew off the building in the distance and silently watched it with bated breath. You heard a second boom, and red firework lit up the night. Woo! The show's starting! It's so pretty! They came running over to get closer, positively beaming. Terry pressed herself to the waterfront fence, getting as close as physically possible without just going swimming again. I suppose you could just, like, jump in, but, like, maybe don't. Not the best idea. I don't see anywhere where you could easily get back out of the water. Anyway. More fireworks went off, shooting out hundreds of tiny sparkling lights. The colors stood out starkly against the dark of the night. The biggest ones washed your surroundings with their hue, turning your world blue, then red, then golden.
Welcome.
Did I deliver, or did I deliver? Good job, Terry. Miranda's eyes glittered as she lightly bumped Terry with her hip. Good job. Terry stumbled at the friendly nudge, but was pleased with the compliment. She grinned back. Miranda slightly swung her hips the opposite way to give you a bump as well. It was friendly and soft.
Woo!
We did it! Miranda is also just so pure. Why are they... There's so many pure boys and girls, and it just... My heart is full. My head is fuzzy. I need a nap, but we're gonna keep going. You gave her a little push in turn with a laugh. You were glad that everybody seemed to be having a good time. Cove stared up to the sky with wonder, while Terry squealed in joy after a series of especially grand explosions. Miranda pointed to one that was shooting up and then gasped when it bloomed and turned into a huge sphere of violet light. Baxter smiled in appreciation. It was good to see your friends in high spirits. The rest of the group huddled around the railing to take in the show as closely as possible. Miranda stood close by, Terry's hands gripping the top. Cove laid his arms across it while leaning forward, and Baxter rested his elbows on the rail, putting his back towards the fireworks. He seemed to have more fun watching the others than the actual show. Yeah, that seems in character for him. He definitely seems like the kind of guy that gets his energy from the energy in the room, if you get what I mean. Ooh! She pointed out a golden firework and beamed. Ah, that's so cool! Terry held up a hand for a high five, and Miranda obliged her. Terry whooped and shot you a smile. What color do you think the next one will be? Without giving Baxter a glance, Cove answered immediately. Green. It was orange. Baxter chuckled, but wasn't interested in calling Cove out for being wrong. Aw.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your favorite color? Green?
That's...
It's one of them. Aw. I think that's nice. It matches you. And is yours black? That's one of them. They're bonding! Yeah! I haven't even had coffee today, guys. I am just this freaking hyper. Lord. Cove smirked just a little and left the conversation there. Aw, come on, bond more! Why can't my boyfriend be friends with the other boy who has the sexy voice? Oh no, I have to choose my fighter. We're gonna be loyal! He stood next to Cove. Cove looked away from the fireworks and grinned at you. He was glad to be spending time with you and tilted his head at a spectacular multicolored firework above. I think that's been my favorite so far. He shot you another look and nodded, wanting you to move up closer. In front of him, you could see the night's lights reflected on the water. You took a moment to watch him, and the fireworks reflected in his eyes. Cove grinned like a kid. One of the side effects of not recording in 2 months is that my voice is now significantly weaker than it used to be. So, like, 20 minutes into this recording session, I'm already starting to choke on my own spit. Very bad. I'm gonna need more tea. So legitimately, this is something that I will actually do, both with the wife and with friends. Like, just kind of, like, lean on them and, like, put my head on their shoulder or on top of their head, depending on the height difference. The wife is short enough that I can put my head on top of her head, and it is very, very cute. Anyway, you leaned your head against Cove. You nestled yourself closer and rested your head on your boyfriend. If you listened closely, you could just make out the sound of his heartbeat. He hummed quietly and then lowered his own head down. It took a little readjustment, but soon you were both comfortable with each other. Aww. Your head rested on his right shoulder, and his neck tilted so that his cheek rested on top of yours. He was warm and steady under you. Aww. So fluffy. Yee! Cove Cove's gaze drifted from the show of dazzling lights straight at you, and he smiled dreamily. You didn't know when you'd last seen him so blissful. The spectacle continued to up the ante by bringing more fireworks out at a time. The colors danced across the sky and reflected over the water. You reached out a hand and watched as it was tinted green while the big boom sounded. Fireworks were a normal summer tradition, but this was admittedly an unconventional approach. Showing up in the city last minute to watch a display from a technically private event, that made this feel special in a way that just planning to go to a public fireworks show never would. Terry's ID may not have left you with a lot of time to prepare, but it sure led to a unique situation. It was clear this was an unforgettable night. As the finale sounded, blazing the sky with unbelievable beauty, you remembered thinking that there might never be a night exactly like this one again. Not for the rest of your life. You planned to hold on to the feelings you had in that moment for as long as you could. Ah! Anyway. We're 24 minutes in, according to my stopwatch, which, with editing, it'll probably be a little bit less than that. So, we're gonna start errands, see where this takes us. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms liked to make the most out of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them feeling that way when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this is a swanky show. Vegetables have never seemed so highbrow. Oh, Mr. Holden. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products.
Isn't that great?
Isn't it exciting? It still bothers me. They've gotten old! Ah! Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We couldn't have picked a more perfect trip. It's been too long since we've had a true family outing. Excuse me. Her teasing tone said more than she actually did. Your next-door neighbors had joined you this day, and that's what made it a true family outing. The three parents laughed approvingly. No. Poor Cove is also struggling over there. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cove looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed, and some jokes never died. You'd long accepted that. You were excited to check things out. There were so many stalls, you couldn't even imagine what hidden gems you might find among them. Bubbling with anticipation, you smiled. Well, I'm ready to get started. I've got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yes, that's a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there are so many of us this time, we could take different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer, eh? That sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom surprised. No one had considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile, continuing with the thought. Though, it's a little unfair that there are 4 Jones family members and only 2 Holdens here, so I'll go with you boys to even out the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. He wasn't sure where to look or what to say. That was not a problem his son had.
No.
I don't like that idea. Aww! Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours, and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. After the additional nudging, Cove nodded with a sigh. You realized this wasn't an argument he was going to win. Aww! Alright. I don't get the point, but I also don't mind spending the first part of the trip with Joy and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful. Are the teams ready to go? Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? You looked from your mom to your ma, hopeful that you'd at least get to explore the market with Cove. He perked up at the suggestion, but then you saw Ma was pouting at your request to leave her group. Aww.
Sorry.
Sorry, no can do this time, kiddo. Aww. Seeing that neither parent was budging, you slumped your shoulders. We won't be split up too long, right? Ma hooked an arm around you in a little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joy. Taking the lead, Mom walked over towards Cove and Cliff, who were still eyeing her confusedly.
Let's go.
Come on, boys, we're heading out. Sure. Okay. Cove looked at you softly and found himself pulled forward, stopping in front of you. His expression flickered for a moment, hesitant.
Bye.
Aww. Bye. Cove lightly took one of your hands in his and gave it a small squeeze. He reached forward with the other arm to hug you farewell. Instead, he stopped midway, his whole body stiff. He jerked his gaze back at your mom, and you realized that she had grabbed the hem of his shirt. She gave it a small tug before letting go. What? Mom! Why are you being a cockblocker?
No.
Time's a-wasting, Cove, and I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you only drag your feet on parting ways more. The two of you can snuggle as much as you want later. We have important shopping to do now. She said it! She said it out loud! Cove gasped at what he felt was a truly obscene thing to say. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an unimpressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Joy. I'm not that clingy. You can be that clingy. I love cuddles. I love when couples are being cute and snuggly. It makes me happy. That's all I gotta say. Mom sniggered with a shake of her head. Cove's eyebrows raised over the reaction, and he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eyes, as she whistled innocently. Liz smirked ear to ear, and Cove whipped his head towards his dad. Mr. Holden couldn't offer anything more than an apologetic shrug. It was only then that it dawned on Cove that everyone did think he was that needy. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, pleading eyes. Aww. Who said you were allowed to say things like that to him? You stood in his defense, shooting them all a stern look. They were taking their teasing too far, and he was your boyfriend, not theirs. Your questions seemed to fall on deaf ears from most of the crowd, while Cove beamed at having your support. Aww, he's cute! Without thinking, Cove took another step forward, feeling drawn to you. Also again, Mom grabbed the back of his shirt. She tried suppressing her laughter, but a few chuckles escaped. Actions speak louder than words. Cove's mouth twisted. He struggled to come up with something to say in defense. He was newly embarrassed all over again. Oh, poor baby. Yeah, well. So what? Oh! It's so fucking cute! That admission had Liz, your mom's, and his dad bursting into laughter. Cove grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on, so much that he was physically moving away. I'll see you soon. For a moment you weren't sure if Cove heard you over this noise of the market, but then he nodded. You smiled softly, watching him get over his embarrassment and relax a bit.
See you later.
See you in a few hours. Take care of yourselves. At that, Mom picked a direction and set out into the market with Mr. Holden and Cove following behind her. Grinning, Ma set them off with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. I'm gonna say that Joy's still pretty positive about this whole experience. Like, they're a pretty like make the best of it kind of person. Not much gets them down. Despite the change in plans, you were still glad to be there. It wasn't what you'd imagined, but that didn't matter. There was a whole market to explore, and you couldn't wait to find some good stuff. When they were gone, Ma cheerfully turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? We'll have to find out. You nodded in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going. Ma led you both into the busy market. Some time passed browsing. There were only a few stalls you stopped at. You had fun chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma and Liz and vice versa. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before we left home like the two of you responsibly did. Oh no. You just need to pee?
Yes.
Yes, Liz. I'll have to visit the ladies' room now. Safety in numbers. Shall we all go with you? Ma craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently considered your suggestion. There's no need to worry about me for this, or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though, actually, I might need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that, of all things?
Hey.
Ma, if anyone should go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour, and you're the parent here. Ma giggled, unfazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat up, watching Ma skeptically. What do you have planned? Soon enough, Joy will have to handle doing these kinds of errands on their own. This makes good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz's and pulled her along.
Have fun.
Have fun. We'll find each other again later. They've planned something. Excuse me? They've planned something. You waved. Dumbstruck, you gave a small wave as they waded into the crowd. They were out of sight within moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you, entirely on your own. You didn't know what to think. You still couldn't believe Ma just did that. There wasn't a single doubt in your mind that she had some ulterior motives, but for now you had to figure out what to do next. Well, Ma did say to go shopping, so I guess you walked off on your own. Resigned to your fate, you picked up where you left off browsing the stalls. One hooked your attention. Ooh, what are these? While most stalls were selling various garden-grown foods, this one had an array of homemade fudge. Oh my lord, this is fudge! Oh man. I want all of it. I want all of it. Just a pound of each one. There were even vegan versions of every option. What the hell is vegan fudge? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, isn't fudge just chocolate? Is chocolate not vegan? Am I wrong? You got closer to the stall. You sidestepped past a few other people and got yourself right in front of the counter for a better look. There was a wide spread, dozens and dozens of delicately cut squares of decadence. The owner smiled and approached you to explain their shop. The fudge is sold in boxes of 4 pieces. They either can be all the same, all different, or any mix you like. Are you looking to buy any today? You wanted to get a box to share with everyone. The whole selection was too good not to share. And that was all. Yeah, I could use some fudge. I'm glad you came to the right place then. For the group you picked... Alright, we gotta get the classic milk chocolate in there. That's a thing that's gotta happen. White chocolate, also a good one. Dark chocolate mint sounds amazing. And I am now torn between red velvet and caramel. I feel like the red velvet would be amazing if it actually tasted like red velvet, but most of the time I've found that if it's not red velvet cake, it doesn't taste right. So, caramel swirl. The shop owner carefully put your order together. Everyone else was definitely going to be happy when you regroup later. You paid and there was no stopping the large grin all across your face. Pivoting on your heels, you wove your way back to the center of the path. You pondered for a moment what you should do now. None of the stalls were catching your eye. What did grab your attention, however, was a head of familiar seafoam hairs sticking out above the crowd. You knew instantly it was Cove. Yes! He hadn't noticed you yet, but he was walking in your direction. He held a couple bags tightly in his hand. Strangely, you couldn't spot your mom or his dad anywhere. They set us up! Get your ass over here. You called out to him. Standing firm, you cupped your hands around your mouth for added protection. You took a deep breath. Cove Holden, get your butt over here! Fuck, yes! That is exactly the read I wanted! He instantly stopped dead in his tracks. Alert, Cove's head snapped up and his eyes searched in the crowd until they landed on you. His whole demeanor brightened at the sight.
Joy.
Ah! He weaved through passers-by, walked awkwardly in an attempt to get through as fast as reasonably possible, nearly stumbling more than once. Don't fall over yourself. If we weren't in a marketplace, one of these two options would definitely be my go-to, but it is crowded, and running when it's crowded is rude and dangerous. So, you went over to him. You stepped around a few people to meet Cove partway. It was undeniable that he was shopping by himself. You stared at him, confused. Did you ditch your group? Cove crossed his arms defiantly, the bags twisting in front of him. Your mom took my dad and I ended up alone. Excuse me. Why are you by yourself? Ma and Liz abandoned me too.
What?
I can't believe this happened to both of us. They planned it, they had to. But I don't know why. Are they pranking us? I don't know either. And you meant it. You couldn't fathom what your moms were up to. Cove shook his head, trying to clear his mind.
So...
Yes? His change in tone caught your attention. You watched his eyes start to twinkle with mischief as his mouth pulled into a cheeky smile. You know, it's technically later, and your mom isn't around this time. You chuckled, knowing exactly what he was implying. That incident was already replaying in your head. Be bold, Joy. You kissed him. You stepped closer, placing a hand on his upper arm. Cove beamed and leaned in. It was quick, too quick, but you could feel him smile through it. When you both did part, Cove chuckled affectionately. I'm glad it's later. Aww. So, his gaze wandered off as if one of your parents might simply appear if he kept checking, and you could tell he was still processing the situation. He scratched the back of his head, looking sheepish. Do you want to forget about whatever's happening and go shopping together? Happily, you nodded. It felt good knowing you were going to have the company for the rest of the trip. Cove seemed to be thinking the same thing, because his body seemed to relax then.
Don't worry about it.
Even if we have to make our own fun, we're gonna have a good trip. Cove smiled at you encouragingly. It made you feel more optimistic now. Having him there was already comforting, and now he also seemed determined to improve your day by any means. That had you looking forward to what was coming next. So, where to first? I don't mind going back the way I came, if it's new to you. It's not hard to miss stuff, even if I've gone past it. What have you gotten? Cove shuffled his bags around and started pulling them open so you could peek inside each one. You recognized the array of things he picked up around the market. I mostly got typical things I can use pretty easily so far. Nothing super exciting. There were a few onions, some lemons, and sweet potatoes, among other things that were wrapped up so you couldn't discern what they were. Fun fact about me. I cannot buy lemons. Because if I buy lemons, I will just straight up eat them. I am that crazy person who will sit and eat the lemons out of their tea at a restaurant. Like, I actually have a fun story, but I'm gonna keep it to myself for right now. What Cove bought made sense, but it was far from a complete selection. You glanced around at nearby stalls. Want to start over there? Cove followed your eye as you pointed at one of the larger stalls. It was filled with several kinds of staple fruits and vegetables.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. Once a few people finished paying and moved, you and Cove got yourselves directly in front of the shop. There were so many things to pick from. Okay, they were not kidding. Apples. Gotta get your apples. Peaches. Strawberries. carrots. Gonna live dangerously and buy some lemons. Spinach is good. Lettuce is good. Tomatoes are good. Potatoes are good. Peppers are good. Cucumbers are good. Fuck limes. Onions are good. Oranges are good. And that was everything. Fuck limes. The shop owner put your selection together and handed it to you in a few bags. Happily, you paid and waited for Cove to make his purchase. Ready to go? Cove grinned, satisfied with his new choices. He had added another bag to his small but growing collection. You nodded. Oh wait, before we start moving on and everything, wanna hold hands? Fuck yes! You held onto his hand. There was no way you could say no to that face. Delighted, you laced your fingers with his without hesitation. Cove squeezed your hand back. With renewed eagerness, your boyfriend nodded his head in the direction you had been going towards.
Alright.
Okay, now let's go. Together, you and Cove wandered the market on the lookout for any stalls that caught your attention. Cove was walking around with a spring in his step and talking about the various meal ideas he had in mind. After a while, you had to go a greater distance to find something of interest. Several of the stalls were selling the same goods. It was only a matter now of which you wanted to buy from. You continued ambling down the path until Cove stopped suddenly, literally pulling you away from your thoughts. Cove? You followed his eye line past the crowds. Immediately, you knew what grabbed him. Homemade jams and local honey. Fuck yes. That stall was glittering with quaint glass jars stacked high, each encasing gels of varying colors. Cove's eyes were practically sparkling at the sight. My man likes himself some jelly. I don't think there's a lewd way to interpret that, but it sounds lewd. Am I crazy? I am in the wrong headspace for this right now. His feet automatically began to take him there, likely without being fully aware he had made an unexplained detour. When you got closer, you were surprised there was even more varieties than you thought. There were even different honeys based on what type of pollen the bees used. Yes, okay, fun fact. So, the flowers that the bees get their pollen from, drastically changes the flavor and, like, everything about the honey. Like, do your research when you're buying honey. Figure out where your honey bees live, like what flowers are in the area. Honey. I'm sorry, this is something that I care about. Cove's focus seemed to be torn between a bottle of blackberry jam and one of clover honey. Get them both! Get them both! Want some honey, you asked earnestly. You spoke without a hint of irony to the pet name. You thought it was sweet, and the smile it got from Cove made it even sweeter. He nodded. Ah! It's cute! You thought things over for yourself, too. Yes. 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 I should be reading these out, shouldn't I? Strawberry jam. I'm actually allergic to raspberry jam. Blackberry jam. Fuck apricots. Blueberry jam. Plum jam sounds ugh. Rhubarb jam, ugh. And that was everything. You paid, and the shop owner started putting together your order. They carefully packed it in a couple of bags with paper. Thank you very much. Amused, you watched Cove give in and just buy both the clover honey and the blackberry jam. He also went all in, getting spring wildflower honey and plum jam too. The shop owner thoughtfully wrapped each in brown paper to protect them before putting them away in a bag. He handed the purchase to Cove.
Thank you.
You both stepped away from the stall. Cove didn't fail to notice the look you'd been giving him since he agonized over his toast toppers. Hey, this doesn't go bad for a long time, so why not stock up? I could have chosen one if I wanted to. Oh, really now? Sure, and I get it. Why do you think I got so many too? Good then. As you began to stroll, Cove looked up at the sky. He smiled. It was sort of unexpected, considering all of this was technically an errand, and unexpected changes often upset him. But he was happy, and Cove liked doing this kind of normal thing. And you could tell that Cove especially enjoyed doing these kinds of things with you. Aww. You blushed thinking about how comfortable doing this with Cove felt. It felt more than normal or mundane. It felt nice. It felt right. Domestic life. This is exactly what I was. This game, this dev team, they're inside my head, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. We're so domestic. Cove took a sharp intake of air and started coughing for a moment. Afterwards, he looked at you in your teasing grin and chuckled.
You're right.
It's true. I'd like it. Aww. Later, when you spotted a less crowded area, you took a break from browsing. Cove started rummaging through one of his bags just to check on how his goods were doing. A smile grew on his face as he went on to the next. You chuckled, knowing that Cove wouldn't let anything go to waste. There wasn't a single doubt. He was gonna eat it all. Oh no. You held a hand in front of your face as you squinted upwards. The sun had moved quite a bit. You'd been at the market for a good while now. Neither your feet nor your arms were sore right now, and Cove looked to be doing fine too, but that was something that could be coming. There was a price to pay for this much shopping, and it wasn't always just in money. We're gonna flip the script. We're doing it. Want a piggyback ride? Cove gave you an odd look until he realized you were completely serious. He burst into laughter. Come on. His chuckling died down, and you could tell Cove somewhat was considering an offer, but he shook his head. No, I've got all these bags, and I don't really do piggyback rides. My dad was the only one I ever got them from. Aww. I can do it, Cove, and I want to. Give it a try. Well, He twisted in place uncomfortably while you continued to stand firm, and then he relented. Alright, we can try. Yes, mount me! No. I need a damn filter. A grin broke out on your face. Somehow what was meant to be a favor for him, and it ended up like he was going to the trouble for you, but you had still won this round. Okay, up you go. You crouched down low for Cove to get on. Cautiously, he draped himself against your back and wrapped his arms around your neck. He tried tucking his long legs in as you slowly stood up a bit while you worked on getting your hands around them to help hold. But it was awkward with all the bags. Still, you continued on.
Oh my god.
Hit! His voice came out in a disbelieving squeak. Cove was still on while you were standing upright. You did it! His grip was so tight it was slightly uncomfortable, but there was no stopping the grin growing on your face. You knew he was gonna have a fun time. Hell yeah! And with that, you and Cove continued your trip through the market together. Ma and Mom had both texted you during the trip, though only to say that they hoped you'd found some good stuff and that they'd see you later. There were no answers on where they went or why. You and Cove continued to wind your way through the bustling market, the list of outstanding items steadily shrinking while bags grew heavier. Cove must have had a fantastic view of the market from your back. You might have thought that would have helped find the produce needed, but you would have been wrong. Putting Cove closer to the sky had made it easier for him to lose his head in the clouds. You heard as much about cool birds and people's stylish hair as you did about where you might find the next thing to pick up. He was just reveling in the new experience, and that was okay. Eventually he realized he'd not checked his phone in a while. He couldn't reach it from his current position, so you came to a stop out of the flow of foot traffic and let him hop down. Cove rearranged the bags he was carrying, freeing a hand so that he could pull out his phone. You watched his eyes dart over the screen as he read the waiting messages. Not important. I can reply to that later. He mumbled his verdict under his breath. Then Cove's face crunched up with confusion.
Huh?
Wait, I've got a message from my dad. Listen to this. Cove, I wasn't part of the plan. I didn't know what was going on when I left with Joy's mom. Where are you? He sent that ages ago. I didn't hear it come in. He sent another one since then. Says he hopes I'm alright and that he's not bothering me. The newest one says everybody's going to the parking lot soon and we can meet up there. He lowered his phone, eyes narrowed. The same conclusion was settling on you had landed on Cove as well. So it was on purpose. No shit. The crowd of people passing. I'm sorry. Like, you're cute, Cove, but you're a little slow sometimes. The crowd of people passing by stayed as noisy as ever, a sharp contrast to the silence that had fallen over you and Cove. He was rubbing the screen of his phone against his shirt, wiping away dust and debris. He continued scrubbing the screen long after anything could have remained, the action a poor substitute for pushing away the awkwardness of the moment. You didn't care about what your moms had done. It hadn't changed what you'd done today, only who you'd done it with. You shrugged.
Are you okay?
His voice was gentle. I'm peachy, I mean it. That's good. Abandoning us without a warning wasn't really a cool idea, even if they meant well, which they probably did. He looked you straight in the eyes. Not making a big deal out of this is nice. I'm not exactly thrilled, personally, so if you do want to complain to me, you can. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm good, bro. Nothing? Ever? I don't know. His mouth hung open, and then he laughed.
No way.
Come on, you've got to have plenty of stuff to complain about just from the stunts I've pulled myself, let alone what's happened today. Joy has the tolerance of a saint. You cracked a grin at that, despite yourself. He could certainly be a troublemaker when he wanted to be, but he could also be so kind. After a moment, he stepped away from you, face turned. Cove closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His brow creased, then furrowed deeper into a scowl, his arms tightly coiling together. So they did do something stupid. I knew it! His voice had taken on an exaggerated quality, but what truly distinguished it from Cove's typical speaking tone was the abundance of rage. This is such a chore. Parents are so dumb. Why do people have to go places with family members anyway? I hate them. You got it instantly. It had been years since the boy with the bowl cut had been in town first the summer, but Cove had never forgotten. Boy, were you that traumatized? This was years ago, man! To this day, he continued to unleash his impersonation whenever the moment felt right. Sometimes you wondered if the act had grown more exaggerated over the years, or if the kid really was always that ridiculous. He burst out laughing. And every time it never failed to crack you up. Cove gave you a lopsided smile, letting the joke rest for now. Come on, we should probably go meet up with the group. Yeah. You didn't dally any longer, slipping back into the crowd and making your way towards the entrance of the farmer's market. It didn't take long to reach the parking lot. Your parents, Mr. Holden and Liz, were already waiting there, and they waved at you both as you approached. Your own family seemed to be in pretty good moods, in contrast to Mr. Holden. He stared at Cove with open concern as you got closer. Hey, bud. Hey, Joy. How you doing? We'd be doing better if we hadn't been abandoned in a farmer's market by our families. Damn, Cove. Don't hold back. You saw your mom's frowning at his response, Ma glancing from Cove to Mom with blinking eyes. Just because Joy tries to make things a good time no matter what doesn't mean you can just leave them out of your plans and expect them to go with it every time. Ma hung her head ashamed, and Mom had a hand pressed to her cheek. You could tell that they were quickly regretting their scheme.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Joy. Her words were full of emotion. Mom squeezed Ma's arm. We were trying to make the errand more of a trip, less of a chore. Ma nodded. We didn't think you, Cove, and Liz wanted to be stuck trudging around a market with your parents all day. Especially not in the summer. But you're always very thoughtful and don't like to leave your moms behind, so we did ourselves. It was only going to be for the market, not for other stops, I promise. Still, you're right. We could have just told you and let you make your own call. I really am sorry. Neither was meant to upset you.
I'm really sorry.
All gas, no brakes, and we should have known better. Sorry. Ma ditched me too after pulling her urgent potty break stuff. If that helps. I went off to do my own shopping, as it seems they had planned.
Sorry.
Sorry I didn't check back in with you. I wasn't thinking, I just tried to blow it off. You quietly took in their stories of what happened. Over to the side, Cove was talking to his dad. Thanks for telling me something was up, though I feel bad for missing the warning when you sent it.
You're welcome.
It's no trouble, sport. I learned my lesson about making surprise plans. Besides, I've got to register every thought that wanders through this head by you first, right? That sounds about right, yeah. Cove smiled at his dad. Mr. Holden, laughing, clapped Cove on the back.
Not bad.
Wow, we're really being outplayed today. You realize you hadn't been the only onlookers to the Holden's moment. Your moms were exchanging rueful looks. Liz had her arms crossed over her chest, patiently watching it all unfold. Yes, it looks like it. We'd better find some way to catch up.
In that case,
Maybe we can do Joy's chores for the next week? Mom jabbed Ma on the shoulder. You might be onto something. Joy, how'd you like the sound of that? They looked at you hopefully. Alright, I'm gonna cut it there, because I'm actually over time. And we'll decide this in the next episode. I am... I don't think I can put into words how happy I am to be back in this game right now. And, like... it's so fluffy, and it's so cute, and it makes me happy. Blushy Cove is everything. Swear. Anyway, I am babbling. I am basically high off tea. It's a good time for me to just cut this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in 2 more weeks.